Shop Woodhouse Place Hyundai and Nissan, 144th and Giles. KOZN, Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. Friday, the final day of the week. These are the voyages of the program Unsportsmanlike Conduct. Its ongoing mission to explore strange new movies, to seek out new bits and new edifications, to boldly go where no radio program has gone before. Oh, Cam's Movie Club. It's Cam's Movie Club. Cam's Movie Club. It's Cam's Movie Club. And we are joined on the 1620 The Zone video page on our YouTube channel, 1620 The Zone TV, by Kent Wolgamott of the Lincoln Journal-Star. Are you basketballing tonight, Kent? Do you have to be at the game?
I am not.
Congratulations.
Yes. Nor do I have to walk sidelines at a football game, cover some awful 8-man up the field, down the field, and 30 degrees trying to keep stats and run down the field. Yeah. I'm very happy about that.
This is going to be a good night for you then.
Ken, I love your honesty, man, because I know I'm going to see some tweets from a reporter, friend of the program or two tonight. Oh, I'm at this game between two schools that I don't care about, and I'm freezing my ass off, but I love high school football. And you're just like, thank God I won't be there.
Exactly.
Oh.
Well, I mean, it's not going to be a nice night to be outside.
No,
tonight.
hell no. I'm staying in.
It won't be fun at all.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it would have been a good night to go to a movie in a theater.
Oh.
You know, it's too bad I couldn't have seen it tonight, but
it's a fantastic segue. Why didn't you see it?
Well, I had a game on Tuesday.
Yeah.
You had
and
to
then
do prep for the game on
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
And game last night.
Yeah.
What'd you do Monday, John?
Monday, I was prepping for the game on Tuesday.
Why didn't you prep in the theater?
Well, because then
that would defeat the purpose.
Yeah.
You
Get
could
there half
have
hour
gone
early?
to an 11 a.m. screening.
Yeah.
Oh,
Then I wouldn't have been able to prep for the program.
that's true. Yeah. Though Monday's prep, we ended up throwing.
Yeah,
it
we didn't
out.
have to prep anything
You know
anyway.
what, Trev Alberts, you ruined it for us. If
Yeah.
you'd have told me earlier you were going to keep Scott Frost, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have done any prep at all because
Yeah.
we didn't need to anyway.
No, yeah.
It's a great point.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Trev.
Thanks, Trev.
Jeez.
Nice job. But Nick, you chose One Night in Soho.
It's last night in Soho.
Last night.
Last night in Soho.
I better change the graphic.
Is it last night in Soho?
It's last night in
I
Soho.
thought it was one night in Soho.
Good job, Nick.
Well, either way.
Is it Superman or Really Cool Man?
I want to see really cool, man.
Really Cool Man.
I'll watch that movie.
Well, Nick, why don't you tell us a little bit of what to expect?
Last Night in Soho is a movie about a girl from small town England obsessed with the 60s vibe, and she gets accepted into a clothing design college in London. Also, there's
You wrote
ghosts.
this, didn't you?
Also, there's ghosts. He did write it. He told me
Yup.
off the air earlier.
I have a hard time writing and describing movies that I see, so I'm trying something new.
Hey, no, I think that's a pretty solid description. Also, there are ghosts.
There are ghosts.
Which I was not expecting
Same.
going into this movie. There are a lot of ghosts, John.
I sent a message to you last night, and I said I don't know what I was expecting going into this movie, but it wasn't that.
Correct?
It wasn't anything that I saw.
Yeah.
So if we categorized it, is it sci-fi? Is it
Horror.
drama? It's
I'd
a
say
horror.
It's like 3 different genres.
Yeah, and I'd say it leans into horror more in the back half of the movie, which I actually think is the worst half of the movie.
Well, why don't we ask the expert? What would you
Oh,
categorize
yeah,
it
yeah,
as?
yeah.
Ken?
He is
I would call it a psychological thriller / horror movie, but you're 100% right. He wasn't able to continue it. Right, the last half kind of turns into pretty conventional horror picture, really. But the first half is really an interesting movie, I thought, about what the movie I think is really about is nostalgia and the dangers that lurk therein. right?
Mm-hmm.
Romanticizing this past and then having that romanticism turn out to be completely different from what the past really was. And I thought that was interesting, and it was the 60s stuff was just dead on terrific,
Yep.
you know. And get where he was going with it, with the horror part of it at the end, it just kind of didn't work for as well as it should have, I guess. For although I will give him credit for the last twist, I thought that was quite good.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I thought so. Basically, John, there's this young woman. She gets accepted into a
Design
college, yeah, for like clothing and whatnot. And she ends up moving into this old apartment. And when she goes to sleep, it's almost can't. I kept wondering, and I guess I don't want to spoil too much since it's a brand new movie. But early on, it's like, okay, is it's certainly a dream that she is going through. Is she also tripping right now? Did she take drugs that we didn't find out about? And that so the first time she goes to sleep, she's in the 60s, and it's just a great time. And then every time that she returns, it gets progressively worse and worse and worse before it leads to a lot of the horror stuff late in the movie. So.
I think the implication is that she's got mental issues rather than tripping. It's her mental thing kicking in when she
especially when she mentions her mom,
right?
And what happened to her mom.
Precisely. Yeah. And to be more specific, without giving anything away, she is obsessed with swinging London of the 60s.
The
vibe.
And so the soundtrack is all from there, and which is terrific. And Edgar Wright being the clever fellow that he is, also cast of 3 people that were in the acting world that were part of that swinging London scene in the movie, which includes Grandma, her grandmother, Emma Peel, Diana Rigg, who played Emma Peel on The Avengers. And if y'all haven't seen The Avengers, take a look at Diana Rigg when she was like 28 or whatever.
She was one of the James Bond wives too, wasn't she, Kent?
What's that?
She was one of James Bond's wives or whatever in the
at some point, yeah.
Right?
But
yeah.
she was mostly known for being Emma Peel from the Avengers, and
she was on Thrones.
Yes.
Oh, she was on Thrones.
She was on Thrones.
That's where
Yeah.
And then Terence Stamp, who plays this weird, but this guy that the main character meets, I guess, in a bar. Didn't they meet in the bar?
Yes.
First?
Yeah.
He was a part of that as well. So he's pulled all this in, and it's kind of about his nostalgia for that era, right? And then things that had happened in the past turn to get into this girl's mind, basically, the contemporary person. And that's when it starts to go towards the horror and towards the maybe there's murders, maybe there's this. I don't think you're giving anything away saying that. And I thought all that part was really well done. I thought it looked great. The
cinematography was awesome.
So well done.
And all the colors and, just everything popped off the screen really well.
And the cinematographer, by the way, is the same guy that has worked with the Korean director whose name I have just...
Bong Joon-ho?
There you go. It's his cinematographer.
Oh, okay.
So that's who did this. And and I also thought that the 2 young women, the one from today and the one that she kind of inhabits or relates with or whatever in the 60s, were both great in this.
Yeah, Anya Taylor-Joy, if you didn't watch it last year, she did Queen's Gambit
Fantastic
on Netflix.
Show.
Yeah, great show. It's only 6 or 7 episodes, so if you're looking for something to watch around the holidays, she was awesome in that. And I hadn't seen Kent. Is it Tamisen McKenzie?
Yes,
I hadn't seen her in anything before because I have not seen. I'm looking at her Wikipedia page. I've not seen Jojo Rabbit, but I thought she was really good too.
That's
she was
where I knew her
really good
from.
in Jojo Rabbit as well,
Fantastic.
but
in
it was
JoJo.
a small part in
Mm.
there. And she was great in this, I thought. I thought she did a very good job of like showing her go mad a little bit. You
Yeah,
know what I
definitely.
mean?
Yeah.
So this is kind of a hard movie to talk about
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, I'm
without
sorry.
giving everything away,
I'll
right?
do better.
Well, will you?
I will.
It's not your fault that the
It's
movie
kind of my fault, Kent. It's kind of my bad.
that the movie. I did also think this was very Edgar Wright-ish
Oh, absolutely.
film, right?
Well,
Where
I mean,
he
when Nick
he-
picked this last week, Ken, I mean, he was really geeked out about this. So.
I love Edgar Wright.
Okay, all right.
I want to talk about the sound design in the movie quick. I saw this on Reddit.
Saw the movie on Reddit? Wow.
Yeah. Edgar Wright, they had the sound design set up specifically so before they got to London, all the sound was coming out from the front speakers in whatever theater you're watching it at. And then the second you get to London, that's when the surround sound kicks in because they wanted London to be like this big bustling thing. And they specifically waited to kick in the surround sound until that moment. And I thought that was a really cool thing to do. It's something I hadn't really thought about, but I noticed it for sure after I'd read that that's what happened.
Edgar Wright, you know,
love him.
I mean, that's the kind of stuff that he does, and that's what makes his movies. I thought, you know, I didn't think this was terrible by any stretch of
No.
the imagination, but you know, it was also not Baby Driver great either.
Mhm,
You
mhm.
know, and I think it's because the horror element at the end just didn't hold up as much and kind of became conventional in a way.
Yeah, I just thought it started taking over the movie too much, Kent. Like it was like,
Yeah.
okay, here's another 3-4 minutes of just this constant horror stuff. And so I ended up like when that would go away for a little bit, I was kind of like, okay, nice. We can breathe a little bit more.
Yep.
So
Oh, and by the way, we were a week early. I believe you can now get it video on demand at home.
Nick.
I think Nick is going to have to start giving us his movies beforehand, and we will.
And then we'll pre-approve
we will
them.
pre-approve. Yeah,
We should have done that
I'll
with
just-
Stibbs.
I'll just be better about filtering.
Or
from
I
now
Why
think
on.
did we
just
do
need-
that with Stibbs?
we might need to suspend him and allow Kent to start picking some of the movies. I know that would go against the spirit of it. He wants us to pick them, but I think it might be time to maybe
Mm.
ground Nick for a few weeks.
Wow.
Just for a few weeks.
Grounded.
Well, I've learned my lesson now.
So it is in theaters. Any particular reason why can't, you know, because it seems to be now the trend where a lot of first run films are debuting simultaneously streaming on a streaming service and in the theater. Any particular reason why this one wants to buck the trend?
Yeah, it comes from Focus Features, which is Universal, and they have yet to do that. They're the one studio that hasn't done it. Disney's done it. Warner's has done it. Sony has done it. Those are the big studios, and Universal has not yet. That's all it is. It's where the studio it comes from.
I mean, are they just like the last holdout, like the last people who, you know, trying to think of a good analogy, but you know, like the last pop company to still have pull tabs? Is it one of those things where eventually everyone's going to end up doing it? Or is there some merit to keeping it in the old school way?
Well, the idea in keeping it in the old school way, you make a lot more money. Straight up. Where when you put it to streaming, you're putting it to streaming. Yeah, you can make some money, but like the reason Warner's streaming everything on HBO Plus is designed to get subscriptions.
Yeah.
Right. And Disney Plus designed to get subscriptions. So that's the idea behind that. I don't think that Universal actually has a streaming service at that level that they have. Right. So that's part of it. And I also think, you know, somebody needs the industry doesn't know what it's doing. It's clear the movie industry does not know what to do right now because movies have not come back at the level that they thought that they would. And if you look at like box office for, say, Eternals, which wasn't expected to blow the doors off of the box office, but they had estimated it early, in this market opening at 80 million plus, and it did about 70, right? So everything is performing even below today's expectations. And part of it, I believe personally, is because of the streaming that people, okay, will stay home and watch something else going, well, Eternals will be available on streaming in 6 weeks or 2 months or whatever. Why go out and pay for it? And that's going to change the whole paradigm, I think, of the industry over the next however many long, if movies don't come back. And boy, I don't see a great rush to do that. It didn't happen with the Bond movie, which was nowhere to be found on streaming.
Right.
You start looking at these movies that they thought, oh, they're going to be big movies, and they haven't been. And in fact, this movie last night in Soho actually performed right about what they thought it would. So
yeah, and I think, Kit, there's still people who are just, whether it's not comfortable or they just haven't gone to movies, they're not going. Like today, my brother and his girlfriend, they're coming back into town for Thanksgiving from Chicago. And so we all decided, hey, let's go see a movie on Thanksgiving night. Them two, my girlfriend and I, and then my parents. So there'll be 6 of us. So I bought tickets to House of Gucci today. And she texted me, she said, I haven't been to a movie at all since the pandemic started. And I'm guessing that there are a lot of people that are in the same boat that for whatever reason, they just still haven't seen anything yet.
well, sure. I mean, I don't know when I went to see this movie at I think it was 11:30, maybe 12:30 screening at one of the smaller 6-plex things here, and it was me and one other person.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
I think that there were 6 other people when we saw Soho on Monday.
I think last night in my theater there were about 8 people total.
Yeah.
But even sitting outside in the parking lot, I had this weird feeling and I didn't understand what it was, and that's when I realized I'm still anxious about going back to theaters. This was my first movie since the pandemic started or ended or whatever. And it gave me weird anxiety just being in an enclosed space with people.
Now, see,
well, you could have taken down this plexiglass we got between us, and you could have taken that with you.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
And y'all don't live in the People's Republic of Lincoln, so we get to wear our masks while we're in the theaters too.
The People's Republic of Lincoln.
I'm going to use that. All right, so that is one night in Soho. So, Josh, you said you had narrowed down your choices.
I had 2 choices. I decided what we're doing. Now, here's the thing for everybody to know. Next Friday, and Kent, you get next Friday off from us because Creighton plays, and so we're going to have a really, really short show on Friday. So no movie club next Friday. The week after that is Black Friday. So this movie, we have 3 full weeks to see this movie.
Right.
You have a lot of time.
Yeah.
A lot of time.
Yeah, because next week, Creighton basketball.
Yeah.
So our show's going to be like real short.
Real short. I am picking Dune. It is on HBO Max. It's on HBO Max for another week and a half. It is in theaters if you can't see it in the next week and a half, but it's on HBO Max for sure until the 21st, I believe is the date. So Dune is the movie.
Dune.
And I'm seeing it in theaters. I want to see it on the big screen.
Yeah, well, that was what I was going to say. I've seen it. I would suggest if you're really interested, see it in the theater. It's going to look a lot better. I mean, I haven't seen it on TV, but I can tell you what I saw in the theater would not have the same impact on a smaller screen. But
right.
Yeah, yes. 3 weeks, huh? Okay.
3 weeks. 3 weeks. We'll see you in December.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Gosh.
seriously. Yeah, it's that time of year.
Well, if that's the case, then we need to get.
2 predictions.
We need to get a prediction for Wisconsin and a prediction for Iowa.
This is going to be good. Since I've thought about neither one of them, I don't think they could beat Wisconsin if they wanted to. Right? Doesn't Wisconsin have the hex on them?
Yeah, and they're actually starting to play pretty well too.
600 yards on them on the ground, and so let's say Wisconsin 31, Nebraska 17.
Okay.
And then I'll pick the upset and pick Nebraska 21, Iowa 14.
Oh,
The upset.
the upset, and we get 4 and fair, and I love it. I love it. So, Evil Kent, what's the pick?
I could see 52-38 or something like that. Probably Nebraska.
What?
What about for the Iowa game?
I could see 52-38 or something like that. Probably Nebraska.
All right.
Evil Kent, what the hell is wrong with you?
Wrong.
You moron.
Has any Big Ten team scored 52 points in a game this
Ohio
season?
State.
Outside of the Buckeyes, well, Wisconsin did, but they played
Well,
Rutgers.
Nebraska beat Northwestern 56-7.
That's true.
That's true.
What would be more surprising, Nebraska scoring 52 versus Iowa or Wisconsin or Iowa's offense scoring 38 points? What would be the bigger shocker? Iowa, can you imagine them scoring 38 against Nebraska?
Iowa
can't
could score
imagine
38.
them scoring 38 against anybody.
Well, they could get 4 pick sixes.
That's
I mean, that's what Iowa does.
they could
Right.
indeed.
Well, happy Thanksgiving, and
Yeah.
we'll see you in 3 weeks.
Gobble gobble.
For our next
Gobble
movie
gobble.
club.
See you in December.
That's
Wow,
right.
my
Well,
God.
Hopefully the weather will still be nice.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I'm sure you'll be out at a high school game tonight.
Yeah.
Probably.
No, yeah.
Probably.
All right, Kent, welcome out, ladies and gentlemen of the Lincoln Journal-Star, and we will be back with more of Unsportsmanlike Conduct right after this on 1620 The Zone.
16